Hey traders, what's going on? Jamie Saettele here. It's a midweek strategy webinar with SB Trade Desk, January 11th. Where do we start with this one? Levels are working out splendid. A little wild to trade it, I guess, intraday. Why don't we start with the U.S. dollar index right here? I mean, it's been crazy. The levels working out with euro and yen, and I don't. Every time I go get a cup of coffee, I don't know if I come back and if we're going to be 50 pips higher or lower at this point. Anyway, I mean, look at that Trump move. Everything's being unwound right now. It's like there's no liquidity in the market. It's pretty crazy. Good Lord. Is he still talking? Good Lord. Good God. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a mess, isn't it? We got asking, is it coming back? I'm not sure what exactly you're talking about. What's coming back? Dollar. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's completely erased everything. It rallied and came right back. I really don't like doing webinars during extremely crazy times like this because, well, typically this is the kind of stuff that I'm trading on an intraday basis. But anyway, I guess we'll try to do my best here and keep my attention going. So if we start with the dollar, so last night's chart, basically looking for some sort of a peak in the dollar up near 12,600, right? And you can see this is a very short-term chart. This is much shorter term than the one last night. The one last night I showed a 4-hour chart. This is an hourly chart. You can see here that we got up into 12,580. So, and then Trump talk, it like looks like a mini Brexit or a mini election actually. Kind of funny, right? It's like the mini version of the election. Like the dollar tanks and then it starts to come right back. In fact, I'll tweet that out. Mini version of the election. So we could still get 12,600, believe it or not. We could get up into 12,600, which is the upper channel line. And as I said yesterday, we had also the daily reversal level, right? It's the high day close, we call it, or daily reversal resistance, call it those two things. And then two equal legs is 12,599. For all intents and purposes, it's 12.6. So that is really, it's you get up there and you turn kind of full on dollar bearish, in my opinion, or you start to break down under this short-term channel support line. And that's really about it as far as the general dollar is concerned, right? So with some of I'm not sure what he's exactly saying right now that's making everything go absolutely nuts, but I haven't seen intraday volatility like this in quite a while. All right, so moving on, let's just go through. I haven't really had time to really prepare a whole lot of stuff because I've been trading all this stuff all morning. Um, but you know the charts, right? We've got them pretty much laid out as far as what we're looking at, and we have euro. It does seem to be the red line, blue line strategy kind of being what works, right? Uh, it's literally just resistance and support. So, I'm looking for a really big low down here, just like I'm looking for a really big top in the dollar, impulsive rally, corrective decline. So that's what I'm looking for as far as euro is concerned. You all know that 104.66 is obviously the key level. If we can finish above there today, basically finish right around here, I think it'd be a really positive sign. Um, for the dollar generally. Dollar CAD is another one that, look, right on this support, right? And we've been kind of going sideways for the last 4 days. I like this trade higher still, up towards 33.60 at least. Basically, it's this channel, okay? And 33.7 or 30 near 33.70 with a bigger move getting you up near the year open at 34.40. That might be a stretch to get up that high, not sure. But if you do a Fibo on it, you can see that the 618 is 34.42, which obviously is just ticks away, or sorry, 34.37, which is just ticks away from ticks away from the year open. Okay, so that's something to watch out for as well. Obviously, anything's game here as far as how the day closes, but ignoring the really short-term vol that's going on right here, would be looking for support. Probably down, if we go to a new low down near 31.77. If we close like this or around here, then we'd be looking for support at 32.10. 32.10 is the second square root progression down. You've also got the NFP level, which is 32.12. So, that area right there is interesting. We might, folks, we could be going into a little more this, like, I talk about this a lot. You have these certain days that tend to be kind of shifts in themes. And we could be going into a theme right now where we start to see commodity currencies get hit a little bit more. Okay, so let's just look at, for example, Aussie. Okay, I think Aussie's coming into some sort of a peak. You just had this kind of blowout move on Trump just now. The next big level, 74.50. So I don't want to sell Aussie. As I wrote yesterday, I'm very bullish Aussie. I'm very bullish copper over the course of the year. I'm a buyer of dips on those. Kiwi, if you're going to be a short a commodity currency, I still think Kiwi's probably, excuse me, probably the way to go, given that we've got the bearish engulfing here last Friday, sideways trade this week. We're not able to push through highs on all these moves higher, right? We haven't been able to push higher despite the fact that you have had rips higher, if you will, in Aussie. Kiwi's really languished, and that's the Aussie Kiwi trade, right? It's another big one for the year that I think probably ends up going very well as Aussie Kiwi a lot higher. So, kind of keep that in your mind. If you're going to be shorting a commodity currency this year, or, I think the wind's at your back more so with Kiwi than Aussie. I think Aussie's one that is going to be much more strong, firm throughout the year than is Kiwi. Cable, we saw a lot of, if you on Twitter, I noticed a lot of people getting stopped out this morning. I think a lot of people were looking for longs in cable, and they got stopped out on this latest dump. Wrote last night in the update to watch out for, support in cable, watch for a drop through 2082, and to watch for support near 2057. We got a low at 2037, so fairly close. And, if we can hold up through here, you might have the opportunity to, maybe be long cable, although I think that the better opportunity, like I said before, yesterday might be actually be in euro pound, right? That might be a hint that cable is turning around a bit. But let's see. Euro pound. Basically, over the next couple of days, you've got resistance up here, the 87, 84 area, right? 2 equal legs up in euro pound. And to me, it still does look like you need one more push, right? This is A, B, C, if we go kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more high 5 to complete wave C up at 87, 84. And, this is the 240-minute chart, but if you go to the daily published last night, you'll be able to see, exactly where these slopes are coming from. This one's obviously just a trend line off the top, okay? But a great intersection at 87, 84, okay? So I would pay attention to that level closely. In fact, I'm leaving orders to short there. Eileen asked, am I looking for longs? Not really. I would, be more likely to be long euro dollar than euro pound. I mean, it's sometimes you don't get the final move higher, right? So I'd like to be long euro dollar, and then that would take this move higher. But I'd rather be long euro dollar than long euro pound. And there's reasons for that, of course. One being that, as I mentioned just now, this is a classic washout move. Under big lows, pound likes to do that. Under 2080, capitulation. And don't forget, yesterday we were seeing some pretty good moves on pound crosses, like pound Kiwi, right? Making a reversal as well. Euro pound making a reversal. I'm thinking that we get one more high in euro pound, but if we don't, then I don't want to be trying to catch the last tiny long before this thing falls apart. I think euro pound eventually I think euro pound's going to come all the way back, right? Got an impulse down, a correction up. I think euro pound's going to drop all the way down below the December low. In other words, you're going to erase everything. Okay. So I wouldn't necessarily be focusing on trying to buy this euro pound dip, considering the more substantial downside risk that we have, right? Would rather concentrate on euro dollar from a trading perspective over the next couple of days. Okay, so we have that. Pound yen is one that you'll want to watch as well. Here's a short-term picture of it. Okay, a very clean fork here, and still think that you might be able to get 142.15. If we do, it's a sell in my opinion. Again, it's just the former low. It'd be a retest of a head and shoulders. You can see here as well, this decline looks incomplete. Okay, so either way, whether it's euro pound or euro dollar, have a feeling that we're going to end up in one of these positions, short one of them, right? Which essentially they're opposite positions, right? Because if you have a short pound, your short pound and pound yen, and your long pound and short euro pound. So either way, there's resistance for both of them that I think is well defined. And look how well defined this slope is. Okay, 75 line support. All right. Look at the median line providing support all day right here. Okay, the last couple hours. Okay, early during Europe, it looks like it was support. Yeah, during 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then support just last hour. Okay, so if we can get one more push up into this resistance area, which was resistance as we see throughout earlier in the year last week and early this week, I mean, you've really got a textbook, play there to be short on a horizontal level and a slope lever. So 42.15, the clean level for pound yen. And where I'd be looking to take this, two equal legs is 39. Two equal legs here is 39.08. Okay, that's awfully close and very near some really big levels. Just get rid of. I'll go to a little longer term chart here for you. 4 hour. Obviously very near what you've got here. September high is 38.81. And then you've got this support down here from 11.28 at 38.49. And then the high here, 11.21, is 38.86. Okay, so essentially you've got 38.80 to 39.10 is a really solid area to expect some sort of reaction or attempt on the upside. And if that goes, then it gets really nasty. But that gives you two levels to really work with. Okay, 38.80 to 39.10, and then 42.15. Okay, that's a 400 pip range to work in. So if you can get down into that region, you'd be looking for a bounce. If you can get up into that region, you'd be looking for a sell. I'd probably like to sell a little bit more for the simple reason that you have a head and shoulders. And as you know, we have this really long-term slope line that was resistance that we called it. Lucky enough to call it back in right here. If you recall back in December. In fact, if you go back to the mid-December posts, you'll see that we were looking at resistance up here just based on that slope line. All right. So that, oh, dollar yen just fell out of bed. See, this is crazy. I'm like, I literally looked at dollar. I have my quotes here on one screen. I'm talking to you guys. It was at 16.30 last time I looked, and now it's 50 pips lower. Anyway, back into that. Seems to be resistance. This was a chart from last night. I guess if we didn't have any knowledge of anything else and we could only draw lines on charts and look at them, it'd probably be more profitable rather than having outside influences like Trump press conferences. Anyway, this is resistance. So what I do here, folks, again, in 5 minutes, I don't know where dollar yen might be 50 pips higher for all I know, given this volatility. But 16.17, okay, watch that area for potential resistance. It's the square root progression down. General area of 116 resistance on 1229, of course. Okay, and then you could get the full-on collapse as long as we're staying below this high of 1687. Okay. You still have the median line down here, by the way, at 115. That could still provide some sort of a bounce. Eileen saying no, not 1687, 1617. Again, the only way to do this is to either short into the resistance, okay, which this morning I didn't do. Oh, actually, I did some, but I didn't put out an order to do it on, on the Twitter. But is to look for resistance up here and sell it, sell resistance, or wait for this thing to stabilize and then put an order up here at 1617 with a stop above this morning's high, which is 1690. Okay. That's kind of the way to do it. And then you would be looking for two levels, 115 median line, and then let it go and see if it crashes. Okay. Let's see. What's going on here? So apparently Trump said he would fire one of his sons if they didn't do a good job. Okay. I don't know. It looks like the, I mean, this is like financial crisis type of market behavior. I really kind of despise doing a webinar during it. Euro, your levels to look at right here. You can see where we just hit 105.43. That's actually the NFP level. Perfect support on that line. Check this out. Here's a 5-minute chart. Jesus Christ. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to take questions now on some of this stuff. Basically, what I want to get across is that, and I think the price the price action makes this pretty clear. The dollar's in a really dangerous place. Okay, I don't know how many times I can't get that across. Just this morning, I see another article come out. Where is it? From Market Watch. Here's why the dollar could soar by another 30%. This is the type of shit that comes out right before the dollar crashes. Okay. And that article is published, the dollar right on its highs this morning. But I mean, look at some of these daily charts. Forget the Trump stuff, forget everything else. This is support, guys. I mean, we have this chart. We've been staring at this chart. We've had red line resistance, blue line support, 104.66. I mean, this is support, okay? See how the day finishes, okay? If we finish like this, super, probably an order down here at 105.10, which is the low from 2 days ago, opening range low of the week, okay? And then stop under 104.50. You're giving yourself, 60 pips of risk and literally targeting probably close to 109, 110. All right. Here is another picture. This is Euro Aussie, which actually shows that we could be going into a bounce for Euro Aussie of all things, which has been on a pretty much straight line ever since we opened the year right here. We have the third square root down, 141.76. We just hit the 50 line, the 75 line. I would expect to see resistance up at 142.97, okay, which would be next square root level. It's also the 25 line, which was resistance right here. So you can see that we could be going into a near-term bounce, at least even relative to other currencies for the euro. As it pertains to, say, something like Euro CAD, which, we've got dollar CAD down at support and Euro dollar bouncing from support, although you kind of have to see how the day finishes because let's be honest, we don't know with this kind of price action, where the hell. Okay, so here you have what could be a really big head and shoulders play. You could also have an A, B, and move higher in a C wave, which in FX is quite common, right? A, B, C, A, B, C, and then you get a move higher in 5 waves. So a move higher in 5 waves from here, maybe to fill the gap at 41.36, maybe even higher, would be a flat pattern, something to watch for. Pretty funny in all of this is gold's actually unchanged on the day right now. Bonds are up, so weaker dollar, but gold's unchanged. All right, so let's go through some questions here. We've got Conwall, how you doing, man? Gold, silver, he wants. We'll definitely take a look at gold, obviously. And okay, gold and silver is first. So we'll look at gold and silver. So here's, I wrote back in a couple back here, we were at support and we've gone higher. I think we go to 1210 before this rally's done. As you can see on the short-term hourly chart here, you have turned down and we have found resistance, or at the upper parallel and support at the median line. I'm looking for another leg, so A, B, C. Okay, A, B, C. Basically follow this slope. All right. A high risk play or chance to take is basically look to buy right here, the hourly close here at 1180 with a stop at under 1177. You're giving yourself like $3 stop in gold, which is nothing. Okay, because if this is a low on the median line, you're going to miss out. But really, I'm looking for a 3-wave drop. So, and this is another way to think about kind of trading, right? Sometimes you have to take a few attempts at it before you get the move. And in this case, if this is the low, if that's it, okay, then you're going to get support on 1180 at the median line again, and you're not going to go below 1177, right? In reality, I'm looking for a move probably on the 70 or the 25 line here because you'd be looking for a little bit of a higher floor. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for gold here over the next day or so, Conwall. And then let's take a look at silver as well. Here's Bitcoin, by the way. Last possible support looks like about 700. 700. Okay. Need to hold that, otherwise that's all she wrote. Silver, my friend, still following the same structure that we've been following. And we've gone through the median line now, which is actually a positive. It's a plus. So I would be looking now for support pretty much where we found it today, which is the median line. Look at that. You see that? This is an hourly chart. We have found support, I think, Silver is headed higher. Yeah, I mean, you got to. There's no room for error on this. You got to put it under today's low here, and I guess you'd like to see the market close above today's low, right? Excuse me. Finish up here somewhere, because if it does, then you basically held support, or you've turned old resistance into new support, which means you can get a really powerful move, especially since a lot of people are probably looking for a pullback in gold. Okay, and the level, Conwell, that I'd be looking towards is just this trend line up here. Okay, and let me go to a daily. Theo wants to look at Aussie. Yep, we'll take a look at Aussie. Be looking at this trend line up here. The trend line's higher now at 17.6, but you see this intersection of lines, which this intersection was resistance in early December. That would be a little later. That'd be like 124. That would be 1737. So I'll give you this. If you don't, it's a lot. This goes for FX obviously too, because with what's going on today, with all the nuttiness, which I think is a pretty good description of it, all the nuttiness that's going on, you really do like to wait and see how the market finishes up the day. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on intraday now. Especially now with all the algos and stuff. And look, wait to see how the day finishes. You see these intraday charts, things look crazy. All right. If I pull up a daily chart, let's pull up a daily chart of dollar yen. Okay. This was our parallels. Look at that. There's like literally spot on resistance. If we finish like this, and you get this nice wick up here at resistance, just let's put an order to go short 1615, 1620, stop up here, test the median line, see if you can catch a big tank job. We still have the whole thing with RSI 40 going on, right? Don't forget about that. The next low will be when RSI hits 40. That's what I'm trying to get at. And we haven't hit it yet. Okay. But again, wait till the day finishes. For all you know, the market could go finish way back up here. Okay. And then, you may have a different strategy or the way you approach it. I think that we probably will end up having a chance to short. Okay. Theo asking about Aussie, the Australian dollar. So I did say earlier in the webinar, I'm not a huge fan of being a bear, being a bear on Aussie. Reason for that is pretty simple. One, we have a very bullish copper, which we've talked about a lot in these webinars. Two, we have a very bullish Aussie Kiwi, which actually is testing some resistance right now. Okay. Here's Aussie Kiwi. But to your point, my friend, yes, can we get a pullback? Of course we can get a pullback. All right. So if we get a pullback in, say, Aussie Kiwi and Aussie dollar, I'll look at Aussie Kiwi in a second. I want to look at Aussie dollar for you. So here's Aussie dollar. Okay. Just looking at this chart, where is the next big obvious level? It looks like it's probably see that low? 913 low. Okay. That's 74.42. All right. 74.51 is 3 square roots higher from the open. And it's on a parallel. So if you are going to short or try to short Aussie, I would not do it until you got to at least 74.50s. Okay. And the other thing with that, which as you can see, my 5-wave decline or 5-wave advance has been made a fool because we've not gone 5 waves. The other thing with that, 74.51, and I would then look for support at 70. This would be next week, but I'd look for support at 73.15. Okay. 73.15 is your trend line, and it's the NFP level. Let's see if we have any volume levels going on right now. We do. We got one in yen last hour. We got one in the Australian dollar last hour, which could end up being some. That's another way to do it. So Theo and everybody asking about the Australian dollar. Since you have a high volume level now on the hourly chart, again, being short the Aussie, I don't like it, okay? Because I think if you're going to be short a commodity currency, it's better to be Kiwi, right? Go with the weak one, right? Aussie's showing that it doesn't really care about much of anything except for going higher. It's all year it's done that, right? We opened the year here, opened the week at the median line support, probably should have had the balls to pull the trigger. But there's nothing bearish here. But yes, if you want to look for a top, at least wait until you get the next big level, which is 74.50. If you're trying to pick a top up here, then at least wait for it to settle below the close from the last hour because it was a high volume level at 73.98. If you drop below 73.98, all right, then you can look to take a short with a stop above whatever the high is. Okay, that's a disciplined, professional approach, a way to do it. Other than that, you're kind of guessing and really fighting what I think is a pretty strong trend for 2017 and beyond. Don't get me wrong, I'm not up here chasing Aussie on the long side. Okay, I do want to buy weakness. Okay, in this case, weakness I think would be to 74.15, but again, that's not for another week. So by that point, you could have gone up here, okay, and then pulled back. Okay, so I'll start writing about Aussie on the short side potentially if, again, we get up to the resistance up near 74.50 or above, or if we can settle down below 73.98 today. Other than that, it's really a fight. You guys want to see some wild trading from this morning? So we bought some euro, sold some euro. And that was kind of a gift because I was actually long a small amount up here. Is this 1-2? Who knows? Either way, might be looking back on this in several months and saying, man, that was the low in the euro right there, 104.66. Let's look at crude oil, shall we? Crude oil is been obviously extremely interesting. This is log scale, and this is arithmetic scale. I actually think that crude is going to get down to the 49 region. Not just because you have these horizontal levels there, like the low down here from 12.8, 49.60. Arithmetic scale, you have the trend line here, but do you see this red line? Do you know what that is? That is the trend line that goes all the way back to 1998, 2001, and 2009, with support in January 2015. Kind of resistance back here, obviously not really precise, but cuts through a lot of stuff. It would only be appropriate if we could revisit that trend line, which intersects with this trend line, before we really go higher. Here's the hourly chart. You do have an ABC right now. Let's draw a fork. Not really something to, well, you got the median line down here. I don't really like to follow this because you haven't hit the median line yet, but that's okay. Sometimes. So this is what it looks like to me too. It looks like, all right, so here's a wave count. If we can get A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe a diagonal. One, two, three, four, five, diagonal right here, big low, 49.60. That could be really something to watch for in crude oil. If we go higher from here, then what probably ends up happening is that you end up getting a triangle, okay? Because this would be A, B, C, D, and then E, and then you go higher again. So the bottom line for this chart or this market is basically watch for the market to turn over, and if you get down to 49.60, it's a buy. If you continue higher, it's not necessarily a buy yet, but if you continue higher and go into a triangle, in other words, go higher and then go lower, then it's a buy, probably on this trend line again. Hey, woo, the dollar's falling apart. Nat gas, sure thing. Conwell asking for nat gas and copper. All right. So, really hasn't changed since the last time we looked at this, Conwell. We held support here on the gap. Would look higher towards the median line, all right, which you can see the inflection points on there. So I'd look for, basically 353, 352, 353 for nat gas. I'd look for resistance up at that level. Copper, as we know, still a bull, but you've got resistance up here at 264.65 from the high day close. Yeah, other than that, we're getting into, consolidation period. Again, could be another triangle like we're doing with crude. So that would be, in fact, this would actually fit really well as a triangle because it's probably a fourth wave position. Okay, so you would have yourself, this is probably the impulse. So this would probably be A, B, C, D. My point is that you're in a position where you're probably going to be consolidating for a bit in copper. One, there's still a lot of excess positioning that needs to be worked off. And two, you're stuck between two major technical levels. So A, B, watch for 64, 65, 264, 65 resistance. So A, B, C, D, E. And then as it relates to the Aussie dollar and some commodity currencies, this is probably the only way that you're going to get any sort of a peak is if you get Aussie or copper to come off in a C wave. So A, B, C, D, E. So range trade copper, 264.65 support and a little higher, 269. Resistance, support 252.30s, and also on the blue line, which is near 248 and change. Yeah, dollar yen is getting pretty close to the median line, aren't we? There's the resistance, there's the support. My guess is that you do get something on the median, some sort of response on the median line, or it tries to take out 115 and then bounces. Just a guess, okay, just a hunch. But the median line's really big. There any other questions on markets or anything that we can go over? Oh yeah, Kiwi. Yeah, we really haven't gone over that. Yeah, Kiwi. So if we go through, well, there's still the same levels. You've got 70, 50, and 71. Okay, 61.8 is 70.94, which is this second square root. So that's probably the big one to watch. So those are the two levels, Matthew, 70.94 and 70.49. But if we go through this top, I have a feeling we're going to 70.94. We have a question here from Doug asking, where might the near-term topping cable be? Top? Why are you looking for a top? I think we're probably bottoming. You see this, what we're doing here today? Last night's update, we talked about just this, actually. This was the swing update from last night. I'm looking for a top. If this works out, my guess will be much more function of pound. Regarding pound, watch for a washout under the 1025 low of 2082, then a reversal higher. So today we dropped under 2082 and we have reversed higher. My guess is that we probably end up going up to 2530 or so. That's the trend line. Cable likes to take out everything and everyone. So my guess is that people will be trying to sell this up near, say, 2278 or so, and are just going to get pummeled as it continues to go higher. But minor resistance, I'd put at 2278, 123. But yeah, I'd look toward 2530. Oh, no worries, Doug. You got it, man. Okay, here's what the daily chart for the dollar looks like right now. Probably not the most bullish looking thing in the world. And to think that we were only 20 points away from the ideal resistance level. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there and get this archived. I hope that the takes work out. Bottom line, dollar finally ready to maybe kiss it goodbye. Been a while that we've been saying that, but at the end of the day, if you look back at a long-term chart, the dollar is just, this could be a big base and a big trap. I mean, look at this. Drop March, drop December, January, new lows, slingshot higher, might be about to go through the roof. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. All right, guys, take care and have a great rest of your week. All right, bye.